Part 1 was mainly focused on the super slow motion feature and how well it's integrated, and with a little look at the new built-in ND filters. Let's talk about some of the things which is improved upon in the actual physical body of the camera, and some things they haven't improved. The side handle's been much improved over the FS100. It's a lot less plasticky and it's easier to actually angle now to the correct position for your hand. It also now has a zoom rocker like the F3, which means if we get some lenses that have a servo on there, you'll be able to use it. Personally, I have no use for that, but it's a nice feature to put on there. The E-mount lens system that the camera uses is fine. I don't have many of the lenses, I think I have like one, and I tried the kit lens, I didn't really like it at all. But because the flange distance is so small, that is the distance between the actual sensor and the lens mount, you can put loads of different adapters on there to control your Canon lenses, your Nikon lenses, PL lenses. As long as the lens can cover the Super 35mm frame, there's an adapter out there for it. There are buttons and switches all over the camera. Some of them are user assignable. Very much like the 100 in its actual design, but with one key improvement. The FS100's buttons are just too flush, so when you try and find the button instinctively, it's very hard to do. But the 700, they've made them slightly more protruding. It makes the camera a lot easier to navigate and use by touch. So it's only a small improvement, but it is a much needed improvement. I would have gone a little bit further and made the buttons even more distinctive, and there is still that dark grey writing on black for some of the labels. Another feature implemented on the 700, which was glaringly missing on the 100, is it has a handle now to pick the camera up. Prior to that, we were using the microphone attachment on the 100 to move the camera around. Not a good idea. Simple things like having a handle on top here so I can get my tripod nice and level. Those make a difference. A big disappointment for me is the LCD screen. First off, the placement is exactly the same as the 100. It's very awkward. Having it on top makes it impossible to see the screen when the camera's actually above your height, unless you get on a step ladder. And if you turn it 90 degrees to face the operator, you cannot tilt it at all. It only tilts facing the front or facing the back. So you need to get yourself a monitor or a Zacuto EVF to see what you're actually shooting, because where that screen is, it's simply in the wrong position. In theory, creating an electronic viewfinder by adding a loop onto the LCD screen is a great idea. It's not great in practice though. It's a little bit plasticky and you're basically magnifying a screen which itself isn't that good. It's not that the screen itself is bad, it's just not great. And if you're going to stick a plastic loop on it, which is going to magnify it, it's just going to make it look even more average. It's not detailed enough, not sharp enough, and if you use the peaking on the camera, it only has coloured edge peaking, which you can change the colour of, but it's too strong, and if you use that, you really can't tell what on earth you're shooting. There is no edge sharpness, which would be much more useful. I wish it had a great LCD screen / viewfinder out of the box, so you could use it without having to get any third-party bits and pieces. Battery life on the FS100 is excellent. It still uses those nice legacy MPFs that you used with your Z1, and one big fat one will last you a long time. One of the standout features of the FS100 is its amazing low light sensitivity. The FS700 though has way more megapixels, so in theory it should be worse in low light situations.
In my last review I used the glamorous Diana to test out the low light capabilities of the new batch of full frame DSLRs. So how can I go one better in this test? Simple, I got a bobblehead Chewbacca. For this extreme low light sensitivity test, Chewie here is lit by very little. At 9 dB here, he is heavily underexposed. Even with these cameras which have incredible low light sensitivity, they do need light. And to be underexposed at 9 dB and here 18 dB, is obviously there's not enough light going on here, and we have to push all the way up to 30 dB to get exposure. Now it does show you just how sensitive this camera is, and it gives us a chance to examine how much noise there is. This is the FS100 with a picture profile that isn't exactly the same as the 700. I was having issues with the 700 trying to keep pitch profiles, and the cine gammas are different. But it's pretty similar, and same lighting, same situation, same lens with the FS100. And to be honest with you, the difference is pretty negligible. There's not a lot in it. You can perhaps say there's a tiny bit more noise on the FS700, but there really is so little in it. Or maybe it's the other way around, not sure. It doesn't help that I failed miserably to get Chewie in focus on the FS100. Sorry, Chewie. So I nipped down to the River Thames and Richmond Lock, the place where I have tested so many cameras over the years. What I wanted to do was see if there was any more aliasing and moire in the FS700 than the FS100. Again, theoretically, because it has more megapixels and it has to reduce the image down to 1080p, I was very concerned. But honestly, I could not tell the difference. I was going cross-eyed trying to pixel peep and see if there was anything. At normal speed, I really couldn't tell if there was. There may be some, maybe I'm just not pixel peeping hard enough. Although when you do go into your super slow motion, you definitely do get some aliasing and moire. The aliasing definitely pops up at 240 frames per second here. You can see it along these lines. And I did notice a small increase in noise when using the super slow motion over the normal recording speed. And when you go to 480 frames per second, it's very clear there's issues there. But of course, you've got less than half the vertical resolution. We're not even going to talk about a 960 because it's just a bit of a mess. So with the super slow motion, just be a little careful when shooting some of those fine lines. You may have some issues. So to be complaining about the shortcomings feels rather churlish. To have a camera in this price bracket that shoots such high frame rates in full HD without being cropped, it's really quite astonishing. I love taking photographs with my DSLR. That's what's so cool about them shooting video now. It does both in one camera. The FS700 does have a stills mode too. Is it any good? Well, it's 11.6 megapixels in the actual camera for the native sensor, and when it takes a photograph it's 8.3 megapixels. It's not bad, it's not brilliant. The quality is just okay though. It really isn't a stills camera, it's a great video camera. Stills, stick with the DSLRs. Sony's implementation of the ABC HD internal recording is actually very good. It holds up really quite well considering the low bit rate. Personally though, I would much rather have a nice rock solid higher bit rate with 422 color space. I had no expectations that it would have it in this camera. I'm sure Sony is saving it for perhaps an F3 replacement. So for the FS100 upgraders, you have to look at the features what this new camera offers and decide, is it worth the extra money and selling your camera? Do you need that super slow motion? Do you need those ND filters? Do you need perhaps the ability to output at 4K at some point? If you can get away without any of those, the FS100 is absolutely fine. It's still a great camera, and ergonomically it's exactly the same. So if you've already got it and you're happy with it and you don't need the new features, then stick with it. But if you need those features, and those features are very cool, then there's definite value in that upgrade. As for the rest of us, well, it's 9:35, it's Wednesday evening, and it currently is the best bang for buck Super 35mm camcorder out there. I say that because things are moving so fast. It's not the 4K that excites me the most about this camera at all, because I haven't seen it, I don't know what it's like, but the features I've just used themselves are fantastic, because I have shot with loads of high-speed cameras like the Phantom Flex and the Epic, and having it in this price point is really quite astonishing. So to sum up, let's go through the cool things and not so cool things of the FS700. So for me, the 5 coolest features of the camera. First off, you've got to go with the price. Then you've got to go with the image. The image is absolutely wonderful, especially for that price. Then the super cool slow motion. ND filters, simple but necessary. And of course, you've got to have the 4K ready. So that brings us on to the 5 not so cool things about the camera. The 4K is external recording only. It doesn't ship with the camera. It's a firmware upgrade. I haven't seen it. For me, it's not the biggest selling point. Secondly, the build quality is good. It has been improved on the FS100, especially when it comes to that side handle, but the whole ergonomics are still very awkward. Not a great camera to use out the box. The LCD screen is not great as far as I'm concerned. Very difficult to tell what's in focus at times. Fourth, the internal recording is good, but it's not broadcast approved at 50 megabits a second 4:2. I wish it had that. And finally, fifth, actually, to be honest with you, I think I'll leave it at 4. I can pick holes in little bits and pieces, but for what you get for the camera is really quite amazing. And for me, the biggest selling point easily is that super slow motion. It's damn addictive shooting like that. You want to shoot everything like that. In fact, I'm going to shoot something like that right now. What can I film that's really, really boring and make it look super cool? Because it could be 240 frames per second.
Hi, my name is Philip Bloom and this is Percy, who's decided to come and join in this review of the Sony. I've got one down the bottom as well, and that's... Hey, boys, stop it. Sony FS700. Guys, you want to be on or you want to be on? It needs to be there. There. Okay, ready? It's a bit chunkier up front, so for the guys, let's say it's had a boob drop. For the ladies, a little bit more generous in the trouser department. Say goodbye, Percy. Do you want one? No? No, fine, I won't get you one. What do you want? Food? Alright, I'll get you food.